Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. We've got 30 minutes to deep dive on backup, cloud backup, and busting the myths and opportunities. So yeah, panels, thanks for joining me. But before we do, and we jump into busting some of those myths and some of those opportunities, I'm going to dive straight in. I want to touch on building the foundations of an MSP, and come to you first, Justin. And you've helped MSPs build out their businesses, allowing the owner and the team to focus on other aspects of their business required to keep things moving. And we're going to talk about minimizing downtime. How important is it to have these in place as the foundations to help with that day-to-day running of an MSP business?
Oh, not that important. No, I'm just kidding. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I talk with a lot of MSPs, and just yesterday, I took my kids to, out for Halloween, and it started raining. And right after they got soaking wet, they were like, "Dad, we need an umbrella." And I'm like, "Do you really at this point anymore?" Point of that story being that, a lot of times when people raise their hand, MSPs, other businesses that we work with, and say, "Hey, we're trying to scale and we're overloaded," it's 10 times harder at that point. You're already soaking wet, by the time you need it. But if you put it in before you are overloaded, it's a lot easier to do. We help a lot of businesses do that, before it's a problem. Everybody says, "I want to work on my business, not in my business." This is one of the main ways you can do that. And everybody says, "I want to help differentiate my MSP from others." There's a lot of great tools that vendors offer, but that secret sauce of yours can get lost somewhere in translation. There are ways to help put that back as well. One of the things I hear most often, or I'll ask MSPs or any business owner, is when you get a new client, how often do you type their name? How many times do you have to do it to set them up? And if the answer is more than once, there's a conversation to be had, of improving processes so that you can focus on your employees, working directly with your customers. All that busy work melts away. So I think it's vitally important, and especially to MSPs, these can be showcase pieces to help differentiate you. When you've got great processes, we worked with MSPs and actually had, as part of their sales process, look how we generate proposals. Look how we're leveraging Office 365 and the G Suite to support our business. We can help you do that as well. It's a great sales pitch.
And in terms of the MSPs, then utilising, I'll stick with you at this point, Justin, utilising both those foundations and supporting vendors. How can MSPs utilise the supporting vendors to go alongside with the foundations to minimise that downtime and maximise productivity?
They can use us to, help understand what's out there. We talk with a lot of MSPs that are afraid to make the transition to the cloud. They are afraid that they will lose control when really they're going to be empowered, and a lot of the things that they have to focus on today can be handled, for you, cheaper, faster, better. That's what Matt and Charlie are going to be talking about next, I believe, how their tools help take some of that anxiety away. But there's a lot of preconceived notions about what a move to, SaaS-based tools, cloud tools will mean for their customers and themselves. And we can help demystify that and show, no, this isn't actually more expensive. The costs become more predictable. There's a lot of more features and functionality than you can do on-prem today. There's a lot of value in these tools. That's why they are becoming so popular.
I say, and you've just nicely segued in there. So I'm going to bring Matt and Charlie into this, talking about those myths. So Matt, I'll come to you first. What is the number one myth that MSPs use as a pushback for not using cloud backup?
Well, I think it's just familiarity. In other words, MSPs are just in human nature. People tend to go with what they're familiar with. And if they don't feel that it's not broken, that they don't need to fix it. And what's happening right now is that we're going to be becoming much more of a digitalized, industry. And because of that, you're going to have to require a look at going into SaaS and cloud-based, not just backup, but just infrastructure. And so it's just taking that leap and, doing the test, attending, different shows like this, and getting educated on what the future is going to look like and be able to go ahead and provide for it.
And Charlie, is that similar to you? Do you see any difference there, or is it the same for you too?
No, it's definitely similar. I mean, one of the things that we hear certainly is, it's a bandwidth thing, or they don't know enough about the cloud. They don't necessarily trust it. I'd say that that's been fairly consistent, but with what we've seen, certainly over the last couple of years, right? Which with everybody working from home and everyone almost forced to move to the cloud, I'd say that we're seeing people change their minds overall of what that looks like. But it's still a lot of it is, I know Matt's been in this a long time. I'm sure Dustin as well. Some people are just, if don't fix what's, what they appear is not broken.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to go onto that for a quick second, to sort of echo Charlie's sentiments. There is that back in 2010, we were having a hard time getting cloud adoption, right? Just and you saw it in some of the more larger cities, because that's what the competitive landscape was. But in some of the smaller cities, those were the guys that were in that break fix world that were sort of dabbling in becoming a full-time MSP. And those guys, unless they went and adopted the cloud for their clients, they were kind of, they were not in the conversation when it came into larger transactions. So a lot of the channel was doing exactly what we're doing today, is talking to the benefits of going to the cloud and why you should go to the cloud. And again, now it's going to become even more aggressive, that it's like, if you want to sustain or if you want to grow, you're going to have to make that move.
Sort of have and have nots is what I'm seeing more and more. And there was a long time when software that was available both on-prem and in the cloud had feature parity. This decade, last couple of years, I've been seeing now you're paying the same amount on-prem or in the cloud. And now there's features that are available in the cloud, especially on the Microsoft front, that aren't available in the on-prem version. So you're paying more and getting less. They're really, many organizations are trying to really make this push. And the more you resist, the harder of a road it is when you make that leap. And the hardest time is when you have a foot in each world, in my opinion. The sooner you can make the transition, the better.
Yeah, and also in one of our the largest acquisitions that have happened into this space, and I'm not going to rename it, but there was two different companies going for it, and one company pulled out because it was an on-prem solution, and they don't see it as being part of the future.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely what we're seeing, and it depends on who you talk to, right? There's always people that live on the bleeding edge, right, that move forward. I think we're a bit past that, but certainly talking to some of MSPs, they're nervous about Microsoft having their data, right? So that's another thing that we definitely do here is, hey, once I give it to them, what do I do? And I think it's just part of our evolution, right? We should be building services around that as well, because ultimately your end customers still don't know what to do with it. Right. So you still need to manage it. It's just a different way of looking at it, as opposed to, like rolling the truck with an appliance and going out there. We see, most of the stuff that we're doing now, you don't ever have to leave the office.
Yep.
On the other side of that coin, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, on the other side of that coin, there's a great irony for me in that I've worked with organizations that had all their data on-prem, and I couldn't get any of their systems to talk to each other. Because there was no method to be able to do so. Then when they move everything, into disparate locations all over the country or even the world, now I have APIs. Now I've got a myriad of ways to bring all those systems together. So there are advantages to not having everything in one space like that.
Then we've talked, there's lots of opportunities there and what MSPs might be missing out on by not moving to the cloud and using cloud backup. In terms of the selling side of things, so you've got the myths from the MSPs and you've then got the myths of the end clients. Any of those sales challenges, can you give any advice or any tips on then how MSPs can debunk those myths for the clients that you've touched on, the data not being safe in the cloud, which they're going to feed back to their MSPs? Can you give us anything on getting over those selling challenges?
Yeah, I would definitely say, what are things that certainly if you're talking about, backing up M365 and Google, like you hear constantly, well, they're doing it. There's nothing for me to do. And, unfortunately, we get more phone calls from somebody that just happened to delete their SharePoint. I don't know why, but they do it. And then they're like, what do we do? Right? What do we come up with? So it really is, there still is some education around it, understanding like what the actual SLAs that Microsoft provides. So I think that's definitely one of the things. The other thing is really getting us to the point where, the one thing that baffles me that we still see is there's a lot of people that are just doing backup. So there is no business continuity, there's no disaster recovery, and really educating people that, times have changed, right? Backup in some respects, if you look at even 5 years ago to where it is today, when you're paying by, gig, terabyte, like it's a lot more affordable when you look at it now, when you look at that data. So you could actually, for almost around where you were 5 years ago, you could get the same thing what you were doing for backup and now actually have a DR component. And more importantly, you're able to hit your SLAs and provide your clients just the overall better service, because we all know how end users are. Even if you told them by going this route, they can't guarantee things and, so on and so forth, they'll still come back to you and say, hey, I need you to help me. You get hit with a ransomware now. What are you going to do for me? You're my IT guy. And so just making sure, we've seen that evolve where we ultimately need to make sure that we're covering, all our bases, especially when it comes to protecting data.
Liam, Matt, have you got anything on that as well?
Where to start, right? Was it the famous one that Microsoft provides the security of the cloud, but you have to provide the security of what goes in and out of the cloud. For example, Salesforce, if I'm a salesman and I am jumping to a competitor and I know that the past 3 years, my blood, sweat, and tears have gone into Salesforce, with a click of a button, I can eliminate every single thing that's been put into Salesforce. And what I'm doing is I'm arming myself up for my new opportunity, and I'm also disarming a competitor. It's not even necessarily human error, but it's also just humans in general on purpose. What happens when you lose an employee and all of a sudden you just eliminated their M365 license? What happens to all their work that they've done over the past couple of years? All this stuff needs to be backed up. So when you give real life scenarios towards that helps to the sales process. On-prem, Charlie talked on this as well. I could remember back when I got married in 2007, I got a TV, a 42-inch flat screen TV, and it was like $2,300, and this thing was so heavy, right? But ever since then, more people started buying flat screen TVs, and now I could get the same type of TV that's less heavy for $350, probably less than that at Walmart, right? And going to Charlie's point is that backup really didn't do too much as far as changing the pricing until recently. So historically, if you wanted to back up, let's just say 3.5 terabytes on an on-prem device, you'd have to buy a 10 terabyte device because it's double the size of it there. So you're paying for like a 10 terabyte device when you're just wanting to back up 3.5 terabytes. So that's a big number than as opposed to some of the more sophisticated and newer pricing models like stuff that we have right now on consumption base, right? So when you're backing up 3.5 terabytes with us, well, you're just paying for that 3.5 terabytes because you don't have the cost associated with having an on-prem device on there. So, we could go on for the next 45 minutes on the different selling points on it, but I think when you're talking about pricing in real life scenarios, those are the ones you want to hit on.
I was going to say, sorry, Justin.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say, I heard your question differently, which is to say, I'm actually invited with our MSP partners on many sales calls when they're trying to bring in a new client. And the calls fall into one of three categories generally. Either they are selling on price, we're as good or better and cheaper than the other guys. We are, more competent than the other guys. But the ones that especially bring in a partner like us, they are showing all the features and functionality that are available in the cloud. that they couldn't do today. They're selling on, we're going to do, help you with the digital transformation. We're going to move your business to the next level. And those organizations are not competing on price. And, I can tell you from firsthand experience, that is a differentiator. That is a great way to sell. So I think clients are ready in some cases, more so to embrace it than the MSPs themselves in some cases.
Well, the MSPs are the ones that are going to get higher margins from it.
Yeah, I know. And yet they still don't feel like they understand it. You know what I mean? So they're afraid to do it in some cases. But once they make that leap, they never go back.
Yep.
You guys have seen that as well.
I was going to touch on in terms of the opportunities that it brings for increasing their revenue and profitability as well. You've just touched on margins and things there. So in terms of positioning the business continuity then for their end clients, is there opportunities for upselling those business continuity plans alongside some of the other offers?
I think so. First of all, this move frees up some resources in other ways. When your software is SaaS-based, there is no API call. APIs are the way computer programs talk to each other to encrypt all the data behind a Bitcoin wall. You can't do it when some of the concerns that you had before are now gone. New concerns take their place, but there's opportunity there and new possibilities in how to make software connect and automate and things like that simply aren't available when your resources are mostly on-prem or half on-prem. So this opens up a lot of new opportunities while also taking away the management day-to-day of patching, the things that you have to do to keep the lights on for your clients. So you're charging the same or more. You're doing less of those day-to-day activities, and you're opening up new possibilities. Is generally what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I mean, that is the big thing, right? Is saving time is making money for them, and certainly the experience is better overall. So to Dustin's point, if you have a better experience, hopefully you'll be able to go back there and sell them other stuff, and you're really viewed as that trusted advisor to understanding, and that's one of the big things I think around all of it is just understanding what your expectations of your end customers, right? Like I know we always talk about RTO, RPO, like what do those things look like? But ultimately, if you don't know what their expectation is, everybody that doesn't know technology, you think it's magic. You're backing it up, something catastrophic happens, and bam, it's all back and working within minutes. And there are features.
Oh, sorry, Charlie.
No, good.
I was just saying, you've just touched on there as trusted advisors. So if MSPs are starting to look around or consider moving to the cloud or reconsidering, depending on what their situation is, there's lots of people in this space. We've got two of you on the call. What should they be considering? What should they be looking for to find the right vendor, the right solution for their business?
So I think I'm sorry, Matt. Good.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, most of them are already doing it, right? So certainly going into things like the channel program, looking at reviews, going to Reddit, Facebook groups. If you're not already in a peer group, kind of understanding what other people are using, or almost make just a list of your pain points. Like, what are you dealing with today on a day-to-day basis? And most of them could go in and pull their support tickets and see what's coming up, time and time again. So if it's frustrating for your techs, I think we could all agree that it's going to be frustrating for your end customer. So working through that. And I think, really making sure, I found certainly over the years, they have to have a level of focus on the MSP space. It doesn't mean that's all they have to do, but if they don't have people that understand it, live it, eat it, breathe it, it's very hard, to go to somebody that's a bit more enterprise to understand what your needs are.
Absolutely. And we've got 4 or 5 minutes left, I think. So before we wrap up as well, I think Matt, you touched on this right at the start, but where do you see the future of cloud and business continuity going to? And I'll come to you, Matt, as well, to expand on that.
Digitalize. I see AI not creeping in, jumping in. I saw a study where they're going to see in 2024, AI is going to be a $5 billion industry. 2026, you're going to look at AI to be 90% of CIOs involved in their workload strategies. What's going to happen from there is from the backup and recovery, or just besides that, but let's just go with the MSP space, is that one, MSPs are going to have to embrace AI. I mean, it's coming in. They're going to have to be subject matter experts on it. They're going to have to learn how to vet other companies that are out there into the channel. That's going to be able to be strategic to what CIO's workload strategies are. And then number three, there's going to be a whole brand new next gen providers are out there that's going to take this AI and they're going to create KPIs from it. They're going to create strategies, metrics, and all that stuff, and it's different analytical points that CIOs are going to have to use in order to go and run their companies. So we're looking at a new next gen of different companies that are going to be coming in the channel just in the next couple of years.
And Justin and Charlie, have you got any other insights?
Dustin, I'll let you go.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I completely agree with Matt. Things come in waves. Things come in waves, right? And I believe that software, SaaS solutions, that's going to be the next big thing. It won't be enough to just administer Outlook and Exchange Online. Like, you have to know or be able to help with the rest of Microsoft 365, with the rest of the G Suite, with more. I mean, that's what we're doing here at Insight Automation. We're helping organizations with that, and I see that as a major factor in the upcoming years as we all shift, both the MSPs and the MSPs clients move to the cloud. So I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's there's really not too much more to say. I think they covered it, but I mean that's where I'd say we just need to lean into it, right? And I think because everybody was at home, was working from home. We've accelerated this,
Yeah.
minimally 5 years, maybe more, depending on who you talk to. And so, just leaning in, not being afraid of it. And I don't think it's going to be, to Matt's point, doing this, years ago, where everyone was like, you were dragging them along to get away from on-prem. I think it's happening. Like, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, if you don't get along with it, you're going to struggle because, our end users are getting smarter.
Yeah.
And then you add cyber insurance into it, and then good luck, right? Because, a lot of the stuff that we do, maybe even today or did a couple of years ago, that's not going to be acceptable for protecting your data.
And Charlie, and I'm sure Dustin will agree on this, who else is getting smarter? The hackers.
Yeah, the bad guys. Yep.
We've done a nice little segue into the next panel, I think, here as well, haven't we?
Why don't we just keep us on?
Yeah, Claire, you guys do have 5 minutes still. So.
Yeah, come on. We're doing so good here.
I
have a Mike Tyson story. No.
Continue then. An extra 5 minutes I didn't know we had, so that's good. I was going to say, if there is anything extra on that, then.
How about this question, Dustin? Can you explain what's going on behind you? With
well, I mean, there's a collection. Those are really there. There's a collection of pinball machines behind me, but they're blurred out, as you can. So yeah, I am in our company's offices. We grew so fast, I had to move into the lobby. So I am sitting in our lobby right now, and I have a great camera setup and things in here. But why not have a background that's somewhat memorable if you've got one? So here I am.
Awesome.
And when I'm not automating software, I'm fixing the machines behind me, keeping them running. I frankly fix them more than I play them. It's a lot of fun.
It's how you got that 5 of them. Yeah. And as I say, the last question I was going to ask you all is, obviously I'm all about action points and helping MSPs get stuff done. I wanted to get one point from all of you of what MSPs could implement in the next 90 days to go up to the next level, keep their business running, take themselves out of the business, whichever angle you wanted to come from with that.
Yeah, I'll go first. And this is people that have seen me present or be on webinars or podcasts are going to get annoyed with this, but it's my answer. It will always be my answer. My answer is nothing. Today is what, Tuesday, and you're taking 2 hours out of your day to spend time. I noticed that the number didn't really drop off after Damon left. So, I mean, there's a lot of great content, a lot of good information that's being shared on this webinar. And if you care enough to give up your Tuesday afternoon to be here, what you're doing is right. You're on the right track. You care. You care for your client's business. So I don't think that there's any big magic potion that you could do in the next 90 days except for what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually here at CompTIA EMEA peer member conference. So there's a lot of MSPs in the room that are all doing exactly the same thing, coming here and learning and sharing. Justin?
Well, they'll be drinking too.
If they can do one thing, I would say.
The party is just begun. I can hear them all over here.
Yeah.
I would ask the MSPs here if they could do one thing after this call, go into Office 365 and open Power Automate if you haven't already, and go play and see the functionality and capabilities. Frankly, behind the scenes, it runs about half my business. And you already own it as part of Office 365. It can do a ton of great things for you. Just what they show as samples is just a pinky's worth of its capabilities. So go explore.
Thanks. I've literally just been having a conversation about the exact same thing as well. And Charlie?
Yeah, one of the things I would say is just, if you're questioning what you're doing, especially when it comes to BCDR, is certainly reach out to us. We will give you like an assessment. It's not really a product pitch, just understanding what you're doing, potentially looking for gaps and seeing if there's something that, we could ultimately help you get to a better place for your overall partner's experience.
Absolutely. I was going to say there's so much knowledge to be had within, well, just on this half an hour, of mind the rest of the event as well. So talk to lots of people. It's quite amazing what people can do when they start talking and sharing knowledge. So thank you all very, very much indeed.